What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fan? This your boy JB, host of the Behind the Bench podcast networking channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. For everyone who's tuning in, we always thank you for supporting Behind the Bench and subscribing to the channel, helping us make this show the best that it can be. And I just want to talk about Mr. D Rose, man. Derrick Rose. You know, we received the news last week that Rose was retiring from the NBA and professional basketball. And I was always a fan of D Rose, man. You know, he was an ultra competitor, man. And he gave you 150% out there on the court, man. I remember his college years, entering the NBA out of the University of Memphis. You know, born and raised in Chicago, Illinois, Chi-Town, man. So he has deep basketball roots. And, you know, the Bulls were on the up and up even before they drafted Derrick Rose in 2008 for the 08-09 season. The upstart Bulls had Ben Gordon, Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, and the like. And they brought in D Rose, man, and you could tell that he was driven to deliver another championship for the Chicago Bulls. You could just tell, man, and sometimes, man, you just see a player, man, and you root for him, even though the Bulls aren't my squad, but you respected what Rose represented and the rest of the team. And he was their leader, man. And I remember his playoff debut versus the Boston Celtics in one of the greatest playoff series in league history. And I'm saying that. It went the full 7 games. And I believe they had something like, was it 5 overtime games? No, like 4 overtime games. And one game went to triple overtime. And I believe that game 6, Ray Allen for the Boston Celtics, he erupted for like 50 points, man, and whatnot. But just a great series, man. And Derrick Rose started his playoff career with the bang right out the box. And he delivered the highest scoring playoff debut in league history with 36 points. And I remember that game 1 versus Boston. Chicago beat them to gain home court advantage, you know. But Rose was a phenom, man. And that's a guy you root for. That's a guy you root for. You respect him, man. And I remember when this was going into the... Well, first of all, Derrick Rose would go on to win league MVP for the 2010-2011 campaign, leading the Chicago Bulls to the league's best record, 61 wins that year. And it was great to see. And they reached the conference finals, and they lost to the Miami Heat in 5 games. Now, mind you, Derrick Rose was the sole superstar for the Bulls, while the Miami Heat had 3 superstars. And but Rose showed who he was. Cause I remember they won game 1 in resounding fashion. I believe they beat Miami by like 20 points. I think the score was like something like 101-81. You know, and you could tell they had a blueprint to be a serious threat to Miami, you know, for years to come. And then the following year, the 2011-2012 campaign, you know, Rose played tremendous again. And that was the lockout year. And the Bulls gained the number 1 seed. in the Eastern Conference. And that Bulls team, I believe, would have won the championship. It featured Derrick Rose, the reigning league MVP. That means when you're an MVP, that means you're a top 5 player in the league, in my eyes. And they had the league's best defense. They had the league's best rebounding team. And they improved their bench tremendously to where they was the top scoring bench in the league. So it was set for them to vie for that championship. In that first round versus the Philadelphia 76ers, Derrick Rose suffered, to me, the most devastating injury in the history of the playoffs, the NBA playoffs. There's been some bad injuries, like Kawhi Leonard in 2021 with the ACL, and Anthony Davis when he injured. He had an injury during the 2021 playoffs. But this one right here, man, it devastates you as a fan of the league, man, because that was their year. That was their year. They had all the components. They had all the elements of a championship basketball team. And when he suffered that injury, man, I felt for the city of Chicago, man. I really did. I really did, man. And I'm a fan of the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers. But when I saw that and it just witnessed that, man, it's just like your heart sunk. And he injured his entire knee. Not just the ACL, but the MCL, the I think posterior crucial ligament. His whole knee just went out. And to see an athlete suffer that type of injury, man, you just thinking about it now, man, it's devastating. And I know the city of Chicago, man, was just heartbroken. And it opened the entire bracket for the Eastern Conference, and Philly would go on to beat the Bulls, if I'm not mistaken, in 6 games in that first round. And then the Boston Celtics faced the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. Otherwise, I believe Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat would have fought for the conference championship, and I believe the Bulls would have beat Miami. They knew how to defend that team. They didn't have the scoring in 2011 that they would have the following year. But Derrick Rose, took him about a year or so to recover from that injury. And when you suffer injury like that, you're hesitant to go, return, because you think that you cannot regain your previous level of play. And I think that hindered him a lot, and he kept delaying and delaying his return. But when he finally did return, I mean, he was still a great player, but he was not D Rose, because I believe, like I said, I believe he would have delivered a championship for the Bulls, and possibly two, because he won. He was the youngest player to win league MVP, so he had a full career ahead of him. And that injury, man, it led to other injuries, and at that point, the Bulls moved on from Rose, and he would, play for other teams such as the New York Knicks, then later on the Memphis, not the Memphis Grizzlies, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he showed glimpses of his previous greatness when he scored like 50-some points in the game, and he just broke down with emotion, man, and then he would play for the Knicks, where he was playing 6-man during the 2021 playoffs in support of Julius Randle, who was most improved player that year. I'm talking about Randle, and then second team All NBA. And the Knicks did reach the playoffs that year, and Derrick Rose was a key component. But you just in the back of your mind be like, man, if you never suffered an injury like that, man, And then he would go on to the Memphis Grizzlies, and he was recently waived by the Grizzlies, after signing with the team this past season. And there were talks of him possibly, re-signing with the Bulls and ending his career there. That'd have been cool to see, but he decided to retire from the game, man. And my most memorable moment of D Rose, man, is that dunk that he unleashed on Goran Dragic when the Bulls played the Phoenix Suns on the road. And I remember that famous call by Stacey King. He said, "Stop it! Stop it! Dragic, did you get the memo?" Then they showed the replay. And Rose went up and showed the replay of Rose going up for that dunk. He said, "I want to go higher." And the way Derrick Rose and Goran Dragic is a darn good player, man. He's fierce. And he tried to stop Rose from scoring. But Rose went up so high, so fast when he dunked it, man. It's like he dunked it and thrusted the ball through the net at the same time, man. Like, pow! And then the way he landed, man, it was just magnificent, man. And when you unleash a dunk like that, the referee had to stop play for a minute, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't see that type of dunk every day. And that's my most memorable play of Derrick Rose. And then I remember the series, I believe that was 2014, when the Bulls played the Cleveland Cavaliers. No, 2015, when the Bulls played the Cleveland Cavaliers in I believe that was the second round of the playoffs. And Derrick Rose hit a game winner. But Cleveland would go on to prevail and win that series. But see, this is the type of individual, man, that he could have went down as a truly all-time great player, man. And he'd have been right up there, When I think of Derrick Rose, when you think of scoring guards, and the way he attacked the basket was second to none. Like, he and Russell Westbrook, he attacked the basket with a lot of speed. But I think Rose had the speed and the power. You know what I mean? Like where he wasn't gonna be denied. Like Westbrook, he'll get past you and attack the rim. But Rose was like, man, if I have to score on three dudes, so be it. That's who he was, man. That's who he was. So he was a champion at heart, man. And I was always a fan of D Rose. And he exemplified what makes the NBA great. When you have a superstar, willing to, truly, especially, a franchise like Chicago Bulls, who experienced 6 championships in the 90s during the Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen years. And Bulls were headed toward that mark. And I do remember when the Chicago Bulls were celebrating I believe that was the 20th anniversary of their first championship of 91. And during the halftime of the Chicago Bulls game, Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan, spoke on behalf of the organization. I remember Jordan saying, with this team y'all got now, expect to win 6 more championships, And that's where Rose would have led them to a championship. He would have led them to a championship. He was that driven, and it would have happened, man. It was just that injury, man. It was devastating, man. But he did eventually return, and he put forth the effort, man. But I would have loved to see him in his greatest level of play, and he would have went down. When you start talking about scoring guards, man, he potentially could have became the greatest scoring guard in league history. Not necessarily point guard, but scoring guard. And then the Westbrooks follow that. That would have been a great matchup in 2012. The Chicago Bulls going against the OKC Thunder. Derrick Rose versus Westbrook. Oh, man, you pay money to see that. But I just want to give a shout out, man, to D Rose, man. Awesome player, man, and played with a lot of heart, And as they say, he's a champion in spirit. So I just want to drop that real quick. Until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.